Hi, I'm Gemma Montgomery and welcome to the Excel with Ease podcast, bringing together service-based business owners in the aesthetic, beauty, medical health and wellness sector. Here we discuss different topics that will help you grow your business with ease while supporting your ultimate life vision. Good morning, how's everybody doing? Apologies, I know it's been a while. There's been quite a lot going on at Timeless Aesthetics and Timeless Training Academy. So this episode really, it's just to give you a few updates and just to apologise as to why you haven't heard from me in a while. I am outside, so I'm just recording on audio, not video, and I'm currently on a nice 5-mile walk with my little spaniel, Mabel. Quite cold, but hopefully walking will keep me nice and warm. So yeah, just to give you all a few updates. Life at the clinic side of things has been really busy. We recently launched Skin Vive, which I think is going to be a really popular treatment. It fits really, really well in with the regeneration side of things. This is going to be a nice tool to have in the toolbox that's going to give long-term hydration. We've also got our autumn offers going at the moment till the end of October, so life gets busy again in clinic as we get to autumn. So once a year I do like to put a seasonal offer on things like microneedling, skin peels, both medium and light, just to tie in with the seasonal change of the shedding of the old skin, preparing, I guess, really for the festive season that's ahead. I've also now got my sister on board, so she's helping with the social media side of things. So my sister Lucy works in marketing. She's younger than me, she's in her 20s, and she works for a marketing agency in London, hybrid. So she just has to be in London 2 days a week. Obviously a full-time job has to come first. But for extras, she's helping me in the clinic. So we're trying to just introduce a bit of fun into it, really. She's got me doing all sorts of funny stuff. We're really trying to grow the TikTok. So that's been quite fun. I've really enjoyed that. It's just nice to not have things so serious all the time, because life can feel so serious, can't it? So that's doing really well. We're all finding it funny. Clients are responding by saying it's just nice to see something that's just light-hearted and a bit of fun. So you'll see a lot of changes on socials in both the clinic and from the training side of things. And then the biggest news that I want to report back is that Dorne, who was my business partner for the training, we made a tough decision to part ways. And this is what I want to segue into, really, into this podcast about how to have difficult conversations. So you probably know that I set up the academy side of things back in 2020. It was just as kind of COVID hit. I was at home, a lot of time to think, and prior to that I'd been working for cosmetic courses and I was travelling up and down the country. I'm mainly based in Nottingham, in Birmingham quite a lot, and COVID just made me reevaluate things. At the time I'd relocated, so I'd moved further north, so going down to as far as Birmingham was just a little bit too difficult, really, to go there and back in a day. Don't get me wrong, I could have done it, but I just had a light bulb moment in that I was delivering these sessions anyway, and I'm always looking how things can be made better for people, how experiences can be improved. I learned a lot in my 3 years at the other training company, but I just wanted to formulate a training academy that was different, would be something that I would have wanted when I came into aesthetics, that would give me something in the way that I like to learn, I like to feel. And with that, in 2020, I then formulated the academy. So the academy has always been a little bit of a slow burn because it's so hard to put your focus in too many different places. So the clinic has always had priority, really, because that was always my baby. I'd had that since 2010. That was predominantly how I earned my income. But the way that I set the training up was to make sure that anybody that came on board for training, that they could get the best experience possible. A lot of the work on the academy was digital, but then when people come in then for the practical side of things, especially if they're coming in for accreditation, it's mainly 2-to-1, no more than 2-to-1, 1-to-1. If the numbers are going over, we've got Nurse Pauline, who is an excellent trainer, and she will take the other group off. So the training academy, as I said, between 2020 and 2024, it was just a slow burner, but it was just what I could handle at the time. And then me and Dawn crossed paths, and the plan for the academy then was to really grow the reach and grow a lot of digital things, because I'm so passionate about helping people far and wide that I just didn't want to be restricted to my local community. I knew after 16 years in aesthetics that there was so much that I could pass on. I don't just mean clinically, but in terms of mindset and growth and business and I guess the normal ups and downs that we all experience, which is again why I set the podcast up. So I'm aware here that I'm rambling. It's probably not coming out in a succinct order, but I'm just trying to get to the points that I'm trying to make. So yeah, with Dawn coming on board, obviously 2 eyes on a business are better than one. And the aim was to basically grow it, but not really grow too much the face-to-face injectables for training, although obviously that's great if that happens, but mainly to get more of a digital reach. But what started to happen is as people were coming through, word of mouth, they would tell somebody else that they'd enjoyed the training and the support that you get. So a lot of the work was turning again heavy on the face-to-face injectable side. Dawn was invaluable in really helping me with the clinic as well. So that's kind of how Dawn came on board. She came for a consultation. She caught me on a day where I was really quite bogged down, struggling with the back end of things. Everything just felt really unorganised, not systemised. I could see things that I wanted to do and so much potential, but I just didn't have the time to dedicate because whilst I would do things, it just wasn't done in such a polished way. It wasn't done efficiently in terms of time management. So Dawn came on and helped me with lots of different projects, which has been absolutely amazing. She helped me set the memberships up. We had a whole revamp of the training site. We introduced a paying 3 into clinic. So those changes were honestly really, really invaluable, but it became increasingly difficult to put our focus on 2 different businesses. And what happened is we became partners. So Dawn, like I said, I'd been having the academy for 5 years, and then I met Dawn and she came into the training side of the business in 2024. But what we found is as time was kind of going on, the students predominantly, I guess, wanted injectable training, injectable mentorship. The podcast, don't get me wrong, it's a really great add-on, but it's not something that's monetized. And Dawn is so skilled in her line of work, in what she's got to offer in terms of her tech knowledge, systems, processes, that Dawn's skill set wasn't being used to its full potential. And then I guess when we were looking at the marketing side of things, trying to get both our skill sets across made the branding become a little bit diluted. And then obviously there's the real stuff that you've got to talk about as well, which is the money side of things. You know, everybody's got families, everybody's got responsibilities, and that's life at the moment. You know, the cost of living's rising. So all these factors were kind of coming into play, and we just had to have a really kind of difficult, I guess, conversation, because in this last year, things have been so intense. You know, we grew a lovely friendship. And when you become so close to somebody, it's really hard sometimes to actually look at things factually and look at what's actually going on within the business. So why I wanted to talk to you all about this morning is that you might have somebody that you've partnered up with, that you're working really closely with. You might be dealing with staff. It might be that you know you've got to approach and it's right. How am I going to have this really difficult kind of honest conversation? And not just in business, you know, in life. It could be, I don't know, relationships at home, relationships with family, and you know that things have got to be openly discussed and talked about, taking the emotions out of it really. So I think the first thing you've got to recognise when you're going to have a difficult conversation is, how can this conversation be done from a place of love? So you know me, if you listen to my podcast, it's all very simplistic. There's just two energies in life. There's either love or there's fear. Fear will be where you're coming into a conversation from a standoffish point of view, from an ego, trying to prove that you're right and they're wrong, when really there is no right or there is no wrong. There's just two humans having a human experience. Fear might be that you're coming into the conversation trying to prove that your experience is maybe more valid than their experience, which again is illusion. Coming into a conversation from love would be a way that you kind of have to understand that you're both having an equal experience, but that experience is going to be completely different in how both of you are moving through life and interpreting it. Conversations can be honest and they can be open and they can be done with peace. They can be done with mutual respect for each other. And I guess they can be done with love and understanding that it's not easy for either party. So that's point number one. Before you're going to enter into any kind of hard conversation, think about the energy that you're bringing to the table. Are you in the energy of love? Are you in the energy of fear? And set the intention of what you want the energy to be. I guess point number two is trying to kind of remove the emotions out of the facts, out of the information that's being presented to you, especially when we're talking about business related things. So factual things that might need addressing in the business might be the numbers. So this was a big one with me and Dawn. You know, what are the numbers telling us? When we're presented with these factual numbers, how is that going to look as we go into the future? Can it be something that's tweaked and worked on, or are we trying to open doors that are closed? It could be factual in terms of skill sets, which again was a big one with me and Dawn. Are both skill sets able to shine? Are both skill sets able to be utilised to the best of their ability? Is a certain skill set right for the business? By just factual things, removing the emotion out of it, what is the information that we're being presented with here? And then I guess point number three is when you look at the factual things, the information that you've been presented with, what options have we got going forward? And I think those options then have to be openly discussed, brought to the table, and you have to find then a best way forward. So this is basically the stages that Dawn and I went down. So for me, having my human experience, I could see the facts, you know, the numbers were obviously kind of a big thing. Dawn could see the numbers as well. We could see the skill sets and the demand that was being placed on the business. So my skill set is primarily injectable. Yeah, I do have obviously business experience over the last 16 years, but ultimately people were coming into the training side of things because ultimately they wanted predominantly injectable training. This again was just something purely factual. The digital side of things hadn't got to that point yet because we just didn't have the time to put a heavy focus on socials, I guess. So when we're looking at long-term solutions and numbers and income and things like that, were we both in a position to be able to kind of ride that out? So just very factual things. Before having my conversation with Dawn, and she won't mind me telling you this, I took myself off into the woods for at least a 3 or 4 hour walk. I was literally out most of the morning. Again, you know, I talk about this a lot. I like to feel connected to a higher power. So I actually asked and I just said, show me things I've not seen, or how can I have this conversation from a place of love? And I literally got a download just very, very quickly. And it was about Dawn's perspective that she'd never really shared with me, but I kind of must have been picking up on it intuitively. And it was about, actually, this situation, Gemma, isn't all about you. The download I got was that just her skill set isn't able to shine to its fullest potential within the training academy. Don't get me wrong, it's been absolutely invaluable. But in a way, the academy, I guess, was holding her back as well. So there was that kind of it. And then there was the side of it, obviously, of like the long-term projection and the time that I could physically commit when I've got the clinic running alongside it, to be able to grow it to a financial point that it would need for us both to be able to get essentially what we needed financially from the business. I had all the downloads, I came back to my car, I felt really clear. And sometimes, I know I'm on a podcast now, but believe it or not, sometimes I can really struggle to articulate things verbally. I sometimes struggle over a telephone, if I want to have a clear conversation. And I find it easier sometimes just to write things down. So I sat in the car, wrote my experience of where we were, how we'd got to where we were, down in hopefully just an honest, loving, understanding way. So I explained that I needed to write it down, why I didn't want to speak over the phone, because I might do it a disservice, really. I might not be able to say all the things that I need to say. And literally just sent Dawn the message, and she then was really honest and explained that she needed time to digest the information that I'd just given to her, which I thought was, a really great response. And then that she would come back to me, in a couple of days with kind of her experience of things as well. So, we were just both really proud of each other because we've come a long way. When we had the conversation, I'll get to this shortly, but what came out of it was that actually we were meant to meet. There were sort of lots of strange coincidences, and the things that we took away from it was that we'd both helped each other grow, really. And Dawn's not shy as well in telling you about her experiences, how she struggled, with breakdown and burnout, and how she retreated and took a few years to reconsolidate, and I did exactly the same thing. But I think from crossing paths and meeting, hopefully that gave Dawn her confidence back, in that she could then see the things she did enjoy in business, the things she didn't enjoy in business, the way that she wanted to take things and move forward. And again, with me, exactly the same. I'd been shrinking, shying down and holding back, and Dawn gave me confidence to kind of push myself forward. I would have never have gone to the awards night. That's just not something I would do, that I'm like, really, I don't really network much, but Dawn got me doing all these things. And whereas now I'm like, no, I realize to live in and just feeling good. And I wouldn't have been able to have the difficult conversations that I had with Dawn 3 years ago. I just wouldn't have been able to do it. So in these last 3 years, really, I realised actually I've come a long way. At being able to look at things rationally, look at things as an adult, and just have honest conversations, and realise that these honest conversations don't have to be, it's not a personal thing. You're looking at things logically in business. It's not an attack on somebody personally, and Dawn would agree, coming from the other angle. We just presented with the facts. What is the facts telling us? What are the facts showing us? And how do we need to tweak this to make the best decisions for our life and for our businesses going forward, I guess, as individuals. So when Dawn and I got together after she digested the information, it was just done in a really lovely, peaceful way. And Dawn was absolutely on the same page as I was, and agreed that her skill set needed to shine going forward in a different business direction. So Dawn is now moving into the world of AI, which I can just see, how she's really going to excel there. Obviously, she's still running her own business, but she's veering it now into helping and empowering women business owners in all things AI. And I then, obviously, I've still got my clinic, which I'm continually expanding. Got lots of decisions to make in how I want to actually take the training forward. So my vision is still really kind of growing a digital presence, because I just think if I can just help more people far and wide, then why not? Try and put some good things out there, some good ethics, some good practice. Keep going with the podcast, hopefully helping people again far and wide. And then still going, I guess, with the accredited training, the face-to-face stuff. There'll always be space for that. But it's just trying to, I guess, get the balance. In the clinic, I've got Nurse Pauline back. So Nurse Pauline used to work with me many years back. She used to come in to clinic and help out on different days and do procedures that I don't do. So Pauline's doing a few Fridays each month. So that's great. That might free up a little bit of extra time for me as well to put some focus back onto the academy. I'm obviously supporting my students after they've done their accredited training. So I want to have a think about how that can look going forward into the future. But yeah, I just guess this conversation today was just about a little update, as to how things have changed now from the business side of things in the training and the clinic, and just to hopefully help you know that honest conversations, difficult conversations can be done, but do it with the right energy. Set the intention that you want the right outcome for both parties involved. Try and extract emotion out of it when it's business. Just look at the facts that you're being presented with. And hopefully then, if you set that intention, a peaceful resolution can be found that suits both parties. And I would apply this to personal life as well. If you're having a difficult conversation with a partner, with a loved one, set the exact same intentions. Look at what is going on, what information is factual that you're being presented with, and things can be done in a peaceful, loving way. I truly believe that, even in situations where marriages break down, marriages end, things like that, that can still be done with love. But yeah, anyway, I'm rambling now, but I just think you can apply this principle to any aspect of life. So that's my little update for now. It's probably not coherent. I've got no notes. I'm literally just rambling. I might have gone a bit back and forth in the timeline, but I hope you've got the gist of what I'm trying to say. Not every podcast will be video related, because sometimes it's just having the time. If you've got to do your hair, you've got to do your makeup. I dog walk nearly every day when I'm not down in the clinic. So that's ideal for me to speak. So there might just be a few more audio ones. So I shall catch up with you next week. Take care. Thanks for listening to this episode. I hope you discovered some useful tips and takeaways. Don't forget to please rate, review and subscribe. And as always, pass on to a friend who you think will find this podcast super useful.